Yeah, well,
Hello, hello, my dear friends, you've reached Elena's bar. The best place on the internet, the very best by far. She'll help improve your fitness, but there's also so much more. 'Cause here are just a few things that this channel has in store. There's bar and there's Pilates and there's belly dancing too. And many styles of yoga, so I'm sure there's one for you. Then watch her practice pianist stream from right within her home. She's in such big condition, she'll outrun the metronome. Elena's Bar, Elena's Bar. They're the best place on the internet, the very best by far. It's not just the piano, but the ukulele too. The guitar and violin are even more that she can do. She does so many different things, it's hard not to lose track. I nearly didn't mention that she posts on her Substack. Elena's Bar, Elena's Bar. The best place on the internet, the very best by far. Yet controversial topics may be brought up for discussion, but try not to provoke her or she'll swear at you in Russian. And sometimes certain topics can make quite a big impression. So remember, you take part at your own risk and your discretion. Elena's Bar, Elena's Bar. The best place on the internet, the very best by far. You might even meet Anitta if you're quite a loyal fan. She's got a fixed male cat, but she's so desperate for a man. We've really got it all, then you couldn't ask for more. So sit right back and watch Elena shave a 3 or 4. Elena's Bar, Elena's Bar. The best place on the internet, the very best by far.
hello, my dear friends. Welcome back. Welcome, everyone. Today I have the full house of the Resurgence of Sanity guys with me. I'm so excited. It's been a while since we've done it, guys. Are you excited about today's topic?
Sure.
Yes. Okay.
We get to vote on this?
No, you don't, because you picked the topic, guys. But I love this topic too. And Plutarch today is with us. Plutarch is my husband. So yeah, let me set the banner, guys. If you are new here, joining us for the discussions, remember to drop a comment. Tell us what you think about the topics, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Here you go, so that I don't get distracted later. Cool. So who wants to begin? I know that Nick has prepared some notes. Steve has something to say, and I'm sure that Plutarch will have fun with this topic.
I'll tell you how this came about.
Mm-hmm.
Our last stream on the Resurgence, Nick hosted or led the discussion, and it was on hierarchy. Yeah, well, okay. So 3 men talking about hierarchy. Obviously, men understand hierarchy. So afterwards, in the post-stream discussion, Elena says, well, what should we talk about for Saturday? Well, how about women's hierarchy? Well, so we talked about that. And I said, nah, that doesn't sound right. Women really don't have a hierarchy. They have a committee. So it's kind of the flip side of hierarchy. Hierarchy for women is not really hierarchy. It's more committee.
Okay, so what's the main difference between hierarchy and committee, since you went there, Steve?
Okay. In a hierarchy, whoever, once it's established, the guy on top is communicating facts and direction for a purpose, for a common theme. This is what we're going to accomplish. It's an outward goal that all the hierarchy of men are focused on accomplishing a task.
Mm-hmm.
So with women, they're all clustered around a circle, and their communication, facts don't matter. Remember we did that one last week?
Yes, I do.
So, I mean, you can communicate facts, but facts are meaningless because the valid facts will change based on a woman's feelings. So the type of communication women like is when someone tells a story about their feelings, and then the other woman can come in and understand her feelings and placate and pander to her about her feelings. So it's a whole committee that every single woman is focused on getting her feelings validated. She doesn't really care about other feelings. It's placate and pander to others, so she'll get it. So it's just a spiral of dip, 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 dip. And okay, what's the focus? Is there any outward focus? No, it's all inward, and each woman wants feelings validated, and then as feelings change, then the facts change, and no one's really in charge. And no single woman can stand up and say, "Okay, everybody, quiet down. Here's what we're going to do."
Oh, well,
Oh, no.
sometimes they do, Steve, and this is why I brought up, before we started this live stream, I brought up this island survival experiment that was run here in the US and then in Great Britain, where women and men, both of them, were sent to different islands. There were like 12 or 14 women on one island, and then 12 or 14 men on another island. Depends on the experiment that you're looking into. And they were trying. There were a few women who could actually lead, and the rest of the women, they wouldn't listen to them. They sometimes would, but it had to be like something extreme. They saw a snake, it almost bit them, or like until they fumed, like nobody was listening to anybody. So none of the stuff was done.
Right. So they got emotional.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't want to listen. And you can bet they weren't really respecting women who were trying to accomplish something. They were actually resentful. And therefore, when there was a chance to take down that woman a couple notches, they would use that. Okay, there is a pecking order in the female sphere. But who's ever on top of the pecking order, everyone else is looking for a chance to depose her and take her down.
Yes.
Oh, that's the queen,
kind of like
queen problem, yeah?
The queen, like the queen of the red pill, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, Nick, okay, as a pastor of a church, you had ladies groups in the church, and they didn't behave this way, did they?
Oh, hell yeah, they did. In fact, they used it against me.
Of course.
So I was reading the internet last night, as is dangerous for us to do, and I actually heard an interesting one, or read an interesting one, and it was from Homath. I'm sure you guys all know Homath in this space. He called these alliance networks. And the interesting thing about alliances is that almost all alliances are alliances of, I'm not going to say convenience, but they are alliances of how much can I get from you for how little I have to give you. Like even in World War II, right? The United States for years was allied with say Great Britain, but we weren't fighting in the war, but we were giving them war material, right? And we got Great Britain to kind of fight this war for us for a while without having to actually put people in the game. And so alliances can be these, they don't have to be, and they often end not being, but they can be these ways to like unequal leverage over a person or a state. And I thought that was a fascinating way to look at it.
Alliances can shift like the sand shifts in the Sahara Desert, too.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
so like within the committee, you have different cliques in the committee.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes. And they're always shifting.
the shifting alliances within the sisterhood.
Oh, the sisterhood
or
has
longhouse,
constantly
whatever you
changing
wanna call it.
alliances.
Oh yeah.
Hey,
Do you
Nick.
think a woman? So, what's that?
Oh, what is the one area where they all unite around?
Well, you have an article, right?
No,
We'll
well,
get
we
there.
can go
No.
there, but what's the thing you always say about man? What's the next word?
Man, bad.
Okay. One woman
Yeah.
says, that man bad, and then they all stop. Oh, we can support her
I
on
got a
this.
story for you. So, when I came out, this is right before I got zeroed out. I was fighting feminism in the church. She was probably doing her shit she was planning all this shit behind my back. I had no clue about probably half of it or more, probably more than that. I don't know. I probably still don't know. But I came out with my book and I found text messages where they're like, she had formed her support group within like the alliances, her alliance within like a Baptist Bible study group that was down the street. That pussy. Sorry, that scumbag, that effeminate fat fuck. Yeah, that guy. So what they were doing is they're texting back and forth. Oh, he kissed you with facial hair? That's abuse.
Wait, what?
Oh yeah, I have that
facial
one
hair
too.
is
No.
abuse now?
Oh yeah.
What?
Oh, they're just pissed. And then my book came out, and they were just so upset because I made a joke like, yeah, there's greatness in woman, even making her husband a sandwich. Oh, they got livid. He's such a misogynist. Blah blah blah. They're doing everything they could to set me up and destroy me. It was man bad. They unite.
So, was your ex-wife the instigator of gathering the hens to attack this?
I don't know.
See,
I don't know for sure, but
I think
No,
she doesn't even have to be. It's
Yeah.
like they get the pack out there. It's like the moment one woman starts feeling a little bit off, they just wound you up more and more and more. Oh, did he do this? Oh yeah, oh you poor thing, how dare he is to do it to you? And then it could be
Well,
man,
see that
don't grow
question
facial hair,
implies
guys. It could be abuse.
well, but that question implies a hierarchy where I don't think any exists. I think it's this and but what about this and did he do this and
Yeah.
it's all it's a network, not a hierarchy. It's a network of
Right. And so they're not bickering amongst themselves when one woman tells a man bad story. Then they can all just come in and support her. And then they have the appearance of cohesion and unanimity or whatever that word is. But then when that key woman leaves, then they can say, can you believe she thought this, that? I'm not so sure about
And that's
that.
what
But then
happened. I
he
found out
comes
afterwards
back
that's what
in
happened.
and oh yes, you poor thing. So it's a facade.
Well, that's what
Of
happened.
solidarity.
That's what happened. They did that shit, then they turned their back on her.
Wow. They almost felt vindicated that, okay, there is one woman who is not having a great relationship with her husband. She's taken out there publicly. This is why I never take out whatever happens in our family. I never tell anybody, even the closest relatives, because I know that this can happen, you know? And so when she takes it out publicly in church, they start motivating her even more to do the things against her husband, like all of these intrigues, it just doesn't work long term. It doesn't work for her. I mean, she can seriously ruin a good relationship over nothing.
Well, what happens is it's all in the feels, and it's an opportunity to support this, to support each other against man bad. But then there's also maybe a hidden motivation to especially if that man bad is represents the hierarchy in the community, or
Sure.
because then they get status. They can pat themselves on the back. We did good, man bad. We helped him. Then they can say, yeah, she's kind of stupid. Da, 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 da. Yeah, we helped her, but this is what's really going on.
Well,
But
it
the
pets their
person's
egos.
removed from.
Are they really doing it to help you, or are they doing it for themselves to pet their own egos and say that
They
we
they
did
are
it?
they're not doing it to help her,
Of course not.
because to help somebody, you got to correct them when they're wrong.
Mhm.
A good man will do that to a good friend of his, male friend. He will correct you, and he will put the relationship at risk. No, you're out of line here. Here's what I think. And if the other guy gets all butthurt and doesn't talk to him, hey, that's not on me. I had to tell the truth, because otherwise we're living, it's just a lie. So men do that. Women won't tell the truth to another woman for the other woman's benefit, because they just go, I'm just going to support her emotions and her feelings. And you know what? If it doesn't work out good for her, well, too bad. If that takes her down a couple notches in her happiness, in how she's seen by others, you know what? That's better for me. I don't think this is conscious in women, but I think there might be some unconscious thing at work here. Nick is laughing.
Oh yeah, just take you stand back after a while, and then you reflect. You're like, yeah, I've seen this pattern before.
Well, so it's interesting because I actually, Nick, you were talking about men correcting other men, and I liken that to actually respecting and honoring men. You cannot respect somebody and honor them by just saying they're there, you're right, and then in the back of your mind, and if something bad happens to that person, I actually did this to an uncle of mine, and I got tone policed for it. It was hysterical, and I had to tell the tone policer because I made an argument, and it was an argument that we've actually made on this on our show about demographics, and I'm just like, your response to this was, the response to it was basically, oh, well, that's not going to be my problem because I'm too old for it to be my problem. Okay, that's great. And you can't argue with my argument because the math is what it is. But I could have said that in a nicer way.
Oh, good night. Longhouse.
Right.
It's not what you said, it's how you said it.
Right. Because you can't argue with what I said. It's math. I mean, you can't argue with it. So it's how I said it.
How many times does a man hear that from his woman?
I even hear it from Elena sometimes.
Really?
Oh yeah, you're still a woman.
Yeah.
I was okay. I'll ask you after. Like, okay, every time you bring it up, like, give me a specific example.
Plutarch,
And guys,
don't you know?
this is the same.
don't you know that the committee of women met? One thing they were unanimous on is women cannot be categorized. You cannot generalize
Oh.
how women behave
They
because
won't.
each one is a special snowflake.
Oh, of
They're all
course.
unique.
They're all
Special
navel.
Yes,
and unique. Yes, special and
Yes.
unique.
that just because all other women behave that way doesn't mean she's going to behave that way.
Right. No, Walt.
Sorry, Elena, you behave that way.
I know. I'm just giving you trouble. Yeah. Well, yeah, that's
people in the church. Oh, people that should be in a hierarchy and just plainly speaking the truth. No, these are how some of the effeminate cocksuckers in the NAPARC and PCA OPC. Oh, it's not what you said; it's how you said it.
mm,
How about you fuck off? Sorry, I know it's leadership. I should be.
it's
How about you
okay.
F
Yeah.
off? It's their long housing. It's like this effeminate, womanly behavior. It's the tone policing. It's just
Well,
it's
I
all in your
understand
feels, and you
it.
can't ever offend somebody. But probably because somebody's wife and their committee knows about somebody else, and they're using, and that complaint's coming out through the mouth of a man who has no balls.
Well, okay. So the interesting observation here is not that committees can't arrive at a decision. Occasionally they do. The problem with it is that it's an occasional thing, and it's almost always something that's directed at the other. Committees never decide anything bad about the committee. I mean, actually think about that. Have you ever sat on a committee in life where the committee decides that the committee did something wrong and needs to censor itself or censure or dismantle itself? Has that ever happened in the history of committees?
It can.
No, the
It can.
committee
I'll give
never
you-
censors itself. Rarely, but once in a while, they will censure another committee member. But
Mm.
that doesn't happen very often, and there has to be extreme outward
Mhm.
pressure for them to do that.
It kind of reminds me of what church is doing. Do you think church has become a committee in
we have
terms of
tons of committees.
how it behaves?
Well, they have
Like,
a
it's
committee
so-
for everything.
It's yeah, right.
Listen,
It's so eager to
Presbyterians
correct man or like an individual member in the committee, right? Who is not
Well,
doing what they're supposed to do.
Presbyterian churches are famous for having too many committees.
Mhm.
Okay, what does the word presbyter mean?
Elder comes from
Okay.
presbyteros in Greek. Yeah,
But there's never just one elder, is there?
that's plurality.
So it's a plurality of elders that govern the church. A group, a committee. Committee
Oh,
of
no.
elders. Whereas, okay, now the Catholic Church as a distinction, yeah, there are little committees, but what's the order of the church? Well, it's Pope, Bishop, and then priest at the local parish. There really isn't an acting group governing the church. There are subgroups that may have some influence. So it's a matter of how things are constructed. So, yeah, I mean, in a certain manner, committees do exist in the church. And I'm not trying to say what's good and bad here, but just recognizing reality. What do you say, Nick?
Well, there's always a hierarchy in male spaces. I mean, that's just how men are. The problem is that they've been co-opted by effeminate cocksuckers, all the way up and down, and so that what you see a lot in churches is actually they're not the ones who, even though they're vested with the authority and power, they're not the one. They're just the mouthpieces for the longhouse.
I just, Nick,
That means
sorry.
that means the sisterhood.
When you start using words like cocksuckers and stuff like that, just realize I have diagnosed what your problem is. Nick's problem is LBST,
What's that?
low bullshit tolerance.
I love
Nick
this
has a
one.
very low bullshit tolerance, and it just sets him off. Other men can tolerate a lot more bullshit than Nick.
I must get it from my dad. He's the same freaking way.
And you know what? Some guys are just going to be like that. Women. Some guys are just going to be like that. You're going to have to get used to it.
I don't like bullshit. I have a pretty low
Well, that's why you're
tolerance
here.
for bullshit.
See, usually guys should call each other out on their bullshit, right? But no, for women, the sister, it's like, oh, poor you. Oh, I understand exactly how you're feeling, regardless if it's fucking, excuse me, right or wrong. Oh, poor you. Oh, why is my husband not agree with me? Why is he? I'm like, oh, he's not empathetic enough. He's a narcissist.
He's got low.
Or you could just be effing wrong.
He has this LBST, right, Steve? This is what you're.
Or it could be low emotional intelligence.
Not a thing. Not a thing. According to psychologists, not a thing.
No, it's usually I understand exactly how they want me to feel. I'm just not gonna. No, you're wrong. Your feelings don't matter. Facts matter. Feelings don't care about facts. Oh, but this happened, and bottom line is, yeah, you did something wrong, and you want me to feel bad for you for doing something wrong. How about not?
But you are mean.
He's so mean.
You're so mean.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez. Yeah.
Well, Steve also had an old article talks about this. Team
Kind of.
woman. Here, I'll put it on the stage.
Put it up.
So it's on like the Red Archive or something. So it's back like, oh, you've been around a while, Steve. Yeah, we had an episode about that on the Resurgence of Sanity. So Steve used to go by 7-man. I'll let you take it away, Steve.
Okay, yeah. And so I wrote this around the time my ex-wife and I, well, she was my fiance at the time, or maybe even probably we were just in the getting to know each other phase. Long distance, getting to know each other. So I wrote this up. It was after my first divorce. So I'll just read it. I've observed that a woman always takes the side of other women against a man unless she has a particular attraction or allegiance to that man. Women are very competitive and will fight another woman over a man if he is her man or potentially her man, but will not engage in a fight with another woman on behalf of a man she has no feelings for. He's not her man, and she has no desire to make him her man. In simple terms, a woman is on two teams, Team Woman and Team Her Man. So Team Woman would be the committee of women. Team Her Man is her primary allegiance, and she will go against Team Woman if she has a Team Her Man. Okay, so that's to a woman who belongs to a man and is committed to a man through marriage, through long-term relationship, in a proper order. I mean, that's where her allegiance is going to be. But Team Her Man is a more fluid and ill-defined concept. It can be an unbelievably strong loyalty, but it can quickly slide into nothing if she loses respect for her man. Most women have no Team Her Man, but desperately want to be on such a team. Also, other women will actively fight against a woman that puts Team Her Man first. Happiness is found on Team Her-Man. And so any woman that does not have a Team Her-Man tries to recruit a woman back to Team Woman, the committee, so that all the women team members can be miserable together. The irony is that any woman that tries to sow discord in another Team Her-Man does great damage to all other Team Her-Mans and thus hurts herself too. There is just too much comfort in the shared misery on Team Woman, and they can gripe about the happy women that are on a winning Team Her-Man and against the imaginary Team Man. The members of this Team Woman don't understand the concept of greater good. Oh, there is no Team Man because men don't give a shit about other men. The women on Team Women think they are fighting against Team Man, aka the evil patriarchy, but Team Man never showed up for the fight.
Yep.
So in our modern world, Team Woman is predominant and is changing the rules to make it easier to win against an opponent that never showed up for the fight.
So Steve, I noticed you use a word here, and that word is allegiance.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm now I'm wondering if Homath got this idea from you, because you're actually talking about this concept of allegiance networks. You didn't call it that, but that's what this article describes.
Who knows? I mean, concepts arise at different ends of the world at the same time for just various reasons. Not related necessarily.
No, but I think it's fascinating that we're seeing what you're writing here pop up in other things, and when we talked about this in our show, you said, yeah, this was a competing idea with I forget what the other idea was. It was Rollo's idea.
It was Rollo, and it was a feminine imperative.
Oh, okay.
And it kind of came in, and I think he's talked about it a little bit. It just came into his book. He may still use the term a little bit.
Yeah.
But I never really could quite understand what he was saying.
Well,
other than
he takes up a
hypergamy
similar
made them do
concept.
it.
There's a similar concept in his book on religion that he came out with later. Talks about the Sisterhood Uber Alles.
Well, the Sisterhood Uber Alles does appear. I mean, it's the last paragraph of this article, but I think it's the idea that Team Man is not a thing because men don't give a shit about other men. I think that's true, and the Team Her Man is, those are the ride or die chicks that Rollo talks about. So I think this article actually, even many years later, has held up and its utility in describing the situation.
I'm proud of it because actually, look how short it is.
Yeah, it's pretty short. Mm-hmm.
It's very short, but it has a lot of concise knowledge in it. And
Steve, we got a question for you.
Refined it. Okay.
Can the man that is represented on Team Her Man be a boyfriend, husband, another woman's man, etc.?
It has to be the man that the woman is committed to and will allow that man to direct her life in some manner. So another woman's man, can he direct her life? Not so much.
Well, unless there's cheating going on.
Right. But a boyfriend, absolutely.
Yeah.
A husband, absolutely. But if she's not allowing that man to direct her in any way, she's not really on Team Her Man. She's just pretending.
Ooh.
That's a great point.
So
So-
once
Just
the woman
because
goes
a
team
woman is
you're-
married does
it's
not
over.
mean she's on. What?
So once she joins, leaves off team man, team her man, and's on team woman, you're pretty much cooked.
Right. Just because she's married,
I mean, you can do dread and crap. You can do dread and crap, and maybe you can get her back. But
maybe.
that's one of the iron rules. It's easier to start over with a new one.
Right. Because this team, her man, it's all up to her in her mind. It has nothing to do with the ring or an overt commitment or a contract. It's if she believes that, or if she allows him to direct her, if she believes she belongs to that man, he's acting strong and independent. She's just pretending to be on team her man. She's already on team woman and maybe looking for another man to form a team with.
And that's when they start looking. That's what we call monkey branching. When they start looking for that other man to make sure that they have somewhere to land before they leap.
I guess we're done with the article.
Okay, I'll take it off.
There you go.
Wow.
My mouse is messing up.
Yeah, marriage status doesn't guarantee that she will be on his team.
Well, and I think that's the biggest lie that
Mhm.
men tell themselves is that the ring means that she's on your team.
The ring is just a trophy that she gets. It doesn't mean anything.
Pretty much. Pretty
No,
much.
they have to. They care about the ring, not for the man, but so they can show it to all their friends
Right,
and put it on social media.
exactly.
Say, "Oh, look at me!" Everybody's all happy for you. Oh, congrats! They get all the engagement, the attention. They could give a crap about the ring.
Nick, social media is the ultimate alliance network. I mean, we call them social networks, right? Social
Right.
media is an inherently feminine concept. I'm
It
not
is,
even sure
yeah.
that there's a way to make a social network that isn't a feminine social, alliance network. But it goes to this idea of the ring is for the social media. It goes to, well, I need to make sure that all the other women know what I got. And if you're posting your trophies, that could be your ring, that could be your fuck trophies, that could be if you're really into the guy, that could be the guy. But the guy, in order for you to want to post him on social media, he's probably going to need to have some sort of status or outward symbols of power. It could be fast cars. It could be, a jet or, some. Okay. And if you don't have that as a guy, well, she's not going to promote you to the world's biggest alliance network.
Well, she might if it brings her more clout.
Right. And I want to say this. Do you want to know there's another big alliance network on social media, and that's what we call the trad network. The trad con, trad wife, trad this, trad that. And now in that network, we don't promote ourselves as high status, flashy lifestyle, but when you see women dressing in those really demure dresses and with the frills and they are signaling a certain aesthetic that the network has, or the committee, either one, has decided is the appropriate aesthetic for trad. And so the trad wives are going to be signaling with their they're going to be posting the sandwich they made for the guy, and then they're going to post the yeah, and then they're going to post the picture of them.
Sandwich that they're made for the guy.
Yeah. Well, and then they're going to post themselves in the frilly sundress. But I would actually
Because they're really
argue,
looking at the sandwich, right?
right. But I would actually argue that they are not doing this for the man. They are doing this for so that their network knows that they are in fact meeting the aesthetic demands. I'm going to call them demands of the committee.
You know what the proper response among the committee members? Oh, he's such a lucky man
Oh
yes.
to have a woman like you. So it's actually for her benefit.
He's the better half.
He's such a lucky man to have such a wonderful person like you.
Well, it's like saying my better half, right? A guy will say, she's my better half. It's so
Right.
That always rankled me. Even in my first marriage, I would say it, but almost in a kind of joking manner, and I don't think she liked it.
Of course not. Come on, darling.
No, my first marriage. I don't say it at all now.
Ah, okay. Like my first half, then what? You're half a human? Like what? Jeez, I don't understand it. It's so stupid.
For your first wife, you should have introduced her as your bitter half.
Well, I think in my last 6 months, I probably would have if I had thought of it.
Jeez. Yeah, well, what I noticed with this thread space is just virtue signaling. They are definitely not doing it for their husband. Because if you do it for your husband, if you do it for your family, if you do it for your kids, you don't have time to be on social media in cute little dresses with your hands perfectly manicured, hair properly done. You really don't have time for all of this.
Now, I want to say that not that there are women out there who actually are doing this. There's a few of them, and the committee grew around those women who are actually doing it. But the women who grew around it, they're LARPing, which is an acronym for live action role playing. They are not. They're doing this because the committee has set the standards for this is what it looks like to be a trad wife. So all the women go, okay, I will do this, I will do that, and then I will post about it on social media to make sure that everyone knows that I'm trad.
Can we talk about the nicknames women have for other committee members?
Oh,
you know where
please.
I'm going with this? Okay, so there's two women on the committee kind of vying for a certain position, influence, leadership, and in public, they act nicey nice. Then at home to their husband, they come up with some nasty nickname for that other woman. They're always using that. Nick, have you experienced this?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So and so yes, in public they're all nicey nice, but they're always looking. Oh, did you see what she did? Oh, did you know? You know what? I saw a picture she posted. It was long distance, but she was in a bikini out there, and you know what? She had a tramp stamp. I mean, just stuff like that. It's like, okay.
Oh,
Liars,
and the church ladies will do this to one
liars.
another. They try to be. They have the purity. They're always purity testing one another. Even they're all full of shit, right? No, but it's like, oh, can you believe what this is on Facebook and da 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 da? And I'm like, yeah. And I'm thinking, can you believe you're just talking gossip and you will never say this to her face?
Well, Nick, I think most of the time, those girls wish they had thought to do it first. But because Steve was talking about the bikini picture with the long shot, and you know that most of those girls are sitting there back and going, damn it, I wish I had thought of that because she looks great, even though I know she's ugly in person. You know, she's all the because a long shot with the sun in the foreground hides all those wrinkles really, really well, right? It can even hide a little bit of that extra, you know, that extra weight around the midsection if you take the shot right.
Right.
And so all these
That's
women are
why-
looking at going, I should have thought of that.
That's why to attack her, you got to point out, oh, the tramp stamp.
Exactly.
Because the rest of it, okay, she's not fat. Okay, yeah, she's mid-30s, whatever. Actually, not bad. But nope, you can dismiss all that.
Yeah. Women are lying to themselves. They show one face publicly, like you guys mentioned, and then secretly.
Well, if you're
who
lying to
knows
yourself,
what they are thinking, you know.
well, if you're lying to yourself, how much harder is it than to lie to every other woman out there using the alliance network? Let's use the network. Let's use the committee to. And so this is why, because Nick, you were talking about cliques inside the committees.
Yep.
This is how the cliques inside the committee get formed. Did you see what that woman wore over there? Oh my goodness. And we've got to talk about that. Don't you, that was such a horrible thing to wear. Oh my goodness. And then she has to go create the clique because remember that other woman is on the committee.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. It's a bunch of, I call them clucking hens.
Yeah, that's right. And because this micro alliances, it's about subverting or bringing someone down. In other words, changing the pecking order. Yeah, that's about chickens and hens and all that. It's a hen club and there's a pecking order. And, you know, if they can get other people to collude to take down the status or stature of someone, you then by default are influential because you accomplish something through manipulative and backscene politics. And so you've increased your stature.
And you've solidified your position amongst your clique.
Right.
Oh, the other thing I just thought of that you get when you do that, you get attention.
Yep.
The other girls
love attention.
Oh yeah, and the other girls go, oh, she was the one who noticed that, didn't you? You know, oh, she's smart, see?
Yeah, but you get attention while focusing the attention for the criticism on someone else. So the focus is off you, but you still get credit or accolades for directing this. So they're not going to look at your dirty
Tramp stamp
laundry.
picture.
Well, they're looking at the dirty laundry of this other woman.
So
it's actually pretty.
Well, they could come to her defense. What typically happens, like when I made a video about fitness instructors, how they are wearing promiscuous clothing and they're no different from harlots, especially using the social networks. Some women say, like, how dare you to criticize other women?
Oh, well, that's easy to explain. They don't care that you're criticizing another woman. They do not care. You're criticizing them. I mean, you're not saying that you're criticizing that particular person, but those women recognize that they are part of the group that you're criticizing. They're doing the same actions, and they need you to shut up and get back on Team Woman.
You're criticizing something they self-identify with.
Mm-hmm.
That's the same as criticizing them.
Right. There's no difference between the two.
Yeah.
So it could be that in our prior example of the tramp stamp, that the other girls that have a tramp stamp, they come to the defense of the girl with the tramp stamp.
Well, if they do it themselves, if they have the same behaviors, the woman that you are criticizing, they are going to see it as a personal attack to them too. It's not
Right.
because they care for another woman that is being criticized. It's because they, like you mentioned, they identify themselves as this
Yes.
woman.
So on the Whatever podcast, when Andrew gets into a back and forth with the 304, and there's a Christian woman on there, and the Christian woman comes to that woman's defense and then criticizes Andrew, I think she is self-identifying with that
Team
woman, and therefore what Andrew's saying to that other woman directly applies to her. So Andrew's criticizing her, so she just goes ballistic. Claws come
But
out.
she's team woman, and he's not on team woman.
No, I for the men watching out there and for the women, I think we have elucidated a rule or observation. When a woman defends the bad behavior of another woman, you must assume that that woman is guilty of that exact same behavior.
Yes. I
And
Her
agree
loyalties are also
100%.
to team woman, though.
Right, but they remember the Christian woman in this example that Steve talked about, and I know I know which examples he's talking about because Patriot Barbie did a whole meltdown over this.
Right.
When that woman comes to the defense of explicitly anti-Christian behavior, now this is a Christian woman, according to her own, biography. She's got a whole website page on how she came to follow Jesus.
Yeah.
Okay, but she still comes to the defense of an OF girl for OF girl behavior. No, there is something higher than Christianity, and that is, I did that too, and I want to be able to keep doing that. In this case, the Patriot Barbie thing, she was also selling clothes. She uses her body to market her brand. She recognizes that she is doing this, maybe not to the exact same extent, but if a man were ever to step in and say, no, you cannot behave this way because that makes you a whore, a harlot, that was actually more important to her than her Christianity.
So my observation is that Christian women are harlots.
No, that
Not all, but look, in an ideal scenario, it would be like that. There would be a Christian woman sitting with
What
a
did I write
promiscuous
last
woman,
night?
right?
No. What's happening here is Patriot Barbie has a past. Okay, she's a whore. Okay, and she continues to use her body to sell her brand. So she can identify with the whore directly because she was one. I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt and say she's not one today. However, she still uses whore tactics to market herself and her brand.
But this is what most Christian women do too, darling. They are just undercover whores. They just put a mask of, I'm a Christian woman, I follow Jesus, here is my feminist Bible, and blah, 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 blah.
Right, but
they infiltrated the church, and now try to push and promote the whoredom there as well.
That's a secondary effect. Yeah. Go ahead, Steve.
Well, this relates to something else I've kept talking about: IPA guilt. May not be that they're still doing it. Infidelity, promiscuity, abortion, and the guilt over that.
Right.
And some of that was, they think nobody knows. But since they've never been honest with other people, they just have a visceral reaction if you start criticizing another woman for promiscuity, he's going to come to the defense of that woman because she has this guilt within her. She doesn't know what to do. She's never addressed it. And so she's just going to lash out at anybody who triggers her guilt feelings, even if she's not doing it anymore.
Well,
Right.
because she still has those emotions. Those past emotions are still her emotions. They are part of her
Not
personality.
emotions.
No.
Guilt is let's not call guilt an emotion. It's something that she doesn't feel forgiven of, something she's hiding. And to reveal that she was that type of person, her whole facade, her mask comes down, and no one will love her then.
And that's what this is really about. No one will love me. And in the case of the Patriot Barbie example, not only will no one love me, I've built a brand on being a reformed Christian whore. And so if people find out just how bad my past was, because trust me, she understands how the Christian mentality works towards people like her. If they find out just how bad I was so she can put, like, I think she had an abortion prior to converting. She can say that, and she can put on the clothes of Christianity and say, "Oh, I was that hurt me deeply, and I repented of that." And they can do the performative acts to deflect that, but she can't have people questioning the behavior that led her to that because she still uses it. I don't know if you guys saw how she dressed on whatever, but not trad.
There's still
There's still shame.
There's still shame and guilt between, and it's how others in society and her husband sees her.
Mm-hmm.
There is a problem between her and God. This wall that's there. This wall of guilt or whatever. He doesn't feel forgiven. So she has to pretend it's not there and then just say, Jesus loves me just for who I am with all my past sins and warts and all.
Hey, Steve.
And it's just covering it over.
I think I know what it is, because she can talk about it. She does talk about it. She can't let anybody else talk about it. She can't let anybody else call it out because she's not judging herself for her past behavior, but somebody else might. If somebody else calls it out, the Alliance Network might spring into action and they might ostracize me and they might other me.
Well, and when she talks about it, she can always reframe it the way that's most beneficial
She
for
controls
her.
the narrative.
She controls the narrative, but when somebody else calls it out, she loses control.
Right. I think that's what's happening there. I think they can talk about their story, and that's why we always see them say, well, you don't know my story. When a woman says you don't know my story, what she's saying is you don't know my frame of the story.
Mm-hmm.
It's there's a lot of depth to these things. I mean, men always say, "Oh, I can't understand women. They make no sense." Well, superficially, you're right. They don't make sense. When you actually understand some of the dynamics and motivations, yes, it makes sense. Their behavior makes sense, understanding that. No, the women are not using common sense. They're not acting directly in a manner that is apparently rational, but yet you understand the dynamics and what their motivation is, yeah, it kind of does make sense.
There is, I'm not going to call it logic, because I'm going to call it a rationale, because or a reason for how they behave. We might not think of it as a logical reason, and it usually isn't, but there is a reason. And so you have to, as men and women who are trying to understand how other women are behaving, you have to sit there and understand that women behave with a reason, and you have to sit there and figure out what that reason is, and it could be buried under layers of committee and, what should we call it when you put up pictures on social media to try and honestly, it's kind of a distraction. See how see how good I am.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we were talking about distractions here recently, although
It's kind of a form of propaganda, isn't it?
yeah, it kind of is. That's a good way to think about it.
Oh, like how I say, see how bad I am.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do that from time to time, guys, just to irritate the masses.
Oh, another word is camouflage.
Mm.
Ooh,
Camouflage, huh?
that's a good word for
I
it.
like
You
this
can
word.
show the general shape. What it's like throwing a net, one of the ghillie net or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
over the top of your artillery or the bad stuff. Yeah, you can see, hey, yeah, there is something there. You mentioned it. I can't see the details in there. Ooh, you're not supposed to see the details.
Which is something you can only do if you control the frame. So when Andrew barges in and blows up the frame, Patriot Barbie starts arguing about lawsuits. Starts demanding lawsuits. Why? She lost control of the narrative. She lost. People saw her as something other than the carefully constructed brand image that she's built over years.
Okay. So how dare you take off the camouflage or the mask?
Yep. How dare you take it from me forcibly? And that is how we get to men. That man abused me. I need to sue him. Andrew ripped her mask off, and the act of ripping a mask off of a woman is, in a woman's mind, no different than I can't say that word on YouTube. Is no different than physical violence against her person.
You know what Andrew was doing? He was exposing the narrative.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, he was.
Well, she became essentially naked for everyone.
Yeah, that's
She
a
did.
good way to put it. Yeah.
Exposed. Her true self was exposed.
It's interesting though, they are always trying to find themselves, like through yoga, through psychic mediumship retreats, through all of that crap. And then yet all it takes a man with a strong frame rip off all of the camouflage that you're wearing, and then here you go. Here is your true self, lady. What else are you looking for?
Trying to find themselves is another form of camouflage.
True. Yeah.
So-
Because
I thought that just meant the cock carousel, but
well, no, it's a way to change who you are, and thus change your stripes and your camouflage.
So when a woman is exposed, let's say for some reason, someone goes up and yanks her pants down, or she's walking across the street and a gust of wind blows her skirt up. What does she do? She screams.
Mm-hmm.
Well, isn't that what Patriot Barbie was doing once she was exposed? She started metaphorically screaming.
That was
Yeah.
more than metaphorical. That she was actually screaming. I don't know if you actually watched that episode, but she was losing her shit on air.
Yeah.
And actually, I think listening afterwards and listening to the fallout of that, I think Andrew said that one of the things that she was unhappy with is that Brian didn't come to her defense when she screamed.
Oh, she was expecting a white knight there.
Correct.
Yeah.
I'm sure someone will correct my understanding of the details of the event, but I want to say this to the guys who come in and try and correct the details. I watched this stuff, and yeah, okay, maybe I got a detail or two wrong.
Okay, we
Doesn't
have
matter.
Darlene, we have a question from White Claws. Is it a camouflage or chameleon?
Well, a chameleon is just a form of camouflage. So the answer is those are synonyms for each other. Camouflage just requires human intervention to change, where chameleon can just kind of do it biologically on its own. But
Maybe it's both, because
yeah,
when we did the program on the mask she wears,
Mhm.
she's going to be appear one way or the other. Call that the chameleon.
Yeah.
When she throws up a screen around her past, that's camouflage. It accomplishes the same purpose to hide her true self, which she believes is unlovable and would result in loss of stature and love and acceptance. So it's external camouflage to make the details go away. And the chameleon is how she acts, what face she puts on.
That's a good way to describe it.
But that's a good question. I mean, it means we have to struggle with it and try and outline it. And okay, we'll come up with a consensus or we'll disagree. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, there is another comment here from Fake Human. For with the judgment you pronounce, you will be judged, and with the measure you use, it will be measured to you.
That one's kind of for Nick.
Mm-hmm.
It's Matthew 7:2.
Yeah, I was just trying to figure out what he's referring to.
Oh, probably the stuff on Patriot Barbie and how she was.
Okay, yeah, okay. What she was doing. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, look, you can lie to everyone else, but the justice you mete out against one another, if it's not true justice, it will be, God's a God of justice, so he'll mete out that same justice to you. That's the concept. So, like, it used to be in the Bible, you go and you'd accuse somebody, and if it's found out that it was all bullshit, right? The penalty for what you accused that person of would be met out to the false accuser.
It's interesting because I've heard other guys starting to say in the past few years, because of the whole Me Too era and people like Amber Turd, who made false accusations against men, men have started to ask for exactly this. If a woman's found guilty of making a false accusation, then she should be subject to the penalty that would have been given to the man. And these are non-Christian people who have no idea that this was a thing in the book.
Yeah.
But
maybe you're made in the image of God, and there's God's standards of justice. You're reflecting that by being.
Obviously, this was written for men.
Yeah.
because men understand this. It's not
Yes.
written for women. Women do not understand that because there's a time issue here. What you do now, how you do it now, will affect you in the future. That's the essence here. But women really operate in the present. They don't actually look in. It takes an abstraction to apply it to the future in the opposite way. That's abstract. If you judge, you will be judged by that. Well, okay, you're switching around. Now, instead of me being the judge, I'm the one being judged. That putting that around, you see that the abstraction there?
Yeah,
Women are not good at that. And then here's the other thing. I can influence and manipulate someone else to do the judgment. Then it's like it didn't even happen. So I'm not
you
even
didn't
culpable.
judge. Yeah.
Nick, you don't have to. I'm not going to make you go run down all these stories, but weren't there some stories of that actually happening in the Old Testament?
Of what exactly happening?
Oh,
Being without judgment?
women manipulating men to do their dirty work for them.
Yeah, Jezebel. Well, that's New Testament, but you had what was her name? Herodias,
Yes, that's
John the Baptist's head. Yeah.
yeah.
And then yeah, Jezebel did some, but she usually usurped her husband. That was kind of her thing.
Okay.
She did do stuff on her own, but she also used her husband Ahab, the cuck, yeah, or the effeminate man.
Well,
yeah.
but that's kind of what we're talking about. She used in this case, she used a man's authority to achieve her own ends.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a question for you guys, mostly for Nick, I think. This sentence from the Bible, it could be taken by harlots and say that, okay, you can't judge me if you don't want to be judged. Only God can judge me.
Look, you have to make judgments of right or wrong if you're reading the Bible. It's inescapable.
Okay.
The problem is if your judgment's hypocritical. So you're to judge rightly. Yes, you have to make right judgments. I mean, that's why you have elders. That's why you have officers in the church. That's why you have church discipline. They have to make judgments. Jesus makes judgments all the time. And he's vested his people with authority, and you're to be Bereans and read your Bible and understand these things. But yeah, so the problem is, back to that, is it's the hypocrisy. So if you're saying you're a terrible so like it's like an OnlyFans girl calling out a porn star.
Which is hysterical to watch when
Yeah.
it happens.
I should have just said corn. Oh well, darn it.
But this is why they don't want, guys. It comes down here. They took this extract from the Bible and they say, if we don't want to be judged, we shouldn't judge anyone.
I think I
Why
get where
are you
she's going.
then? But
Do
that's
you
a
get
judgment.
it, Darwin? Do you get what
I
I'm trying
get
to
where
say?
she's going with it. She's trying to say that nobody should judge anybody because if you judge somebody, then you will be judged in that way.
Yes.
So it looks like a feminine imperative type thing. Oh,
Yeah.
well,
Absolutely, yeah. Mm-hmm.
and I think this is just bad preaching of the Bible.
It is.
But
What if
this is why we
what if
don't
no
see
one-
Christian women. This is why we don't see Christian women promoting the biblical standards. They are just saying that, I don't want, I can't judge this lady because I'm guilty of the same thing that she's doing. And then I don't want to be judged for what I'm doing.
But God judges. So you might as well repent. Stop the cap. Repent. Simple.
Go ahead, Steve. You were going to say something.
But what if what she did was in private and nobody knows? Nick, what does Proverbs 30:20 say? Do you know that off the top of your head?
Oh, God sees everything. Basically, I don't know. I don't know the exact Proverbs 30:20.
Hey, I'm just serving you this low pitch. I'm gonna
Yeah,
expect you to hit it out of the park.
Proverbs 30:20. All right, I'll find it here. Oh, it's 28, it's 29, 30:20. There we go. It says, such is also the way also of an adulterous woman. Oh yeah, she eateth and wipeth her mouth and saith, I have not committed iniquity.
She doesn't
Oh, yeah.
want to be found out.
And that's really the
God
key.
sees it.
That
She does the deed, eats, wipes her mouth, no evidence. Who are you to accuse her? But if you do, I've done nothing wrong.
Or in the case, in like the Patriot Barbie case, where they've admitted that they've done wrong, they cover themselves in the camouflage. They cover themselves in the Christianity. They say, but I've repented and I've been forgiven. You can't bring that up anymore.
I am a new creation in Jesus.
Yes.
No, dude, they're a born
Old
again
self
virgin.
has passed away.
Yeah,
Oh.
born
Born again
again
virgin.
version. Yeah. So true. And you know, I predict, and I've told it to you before, guys, I predict we'll see a lot more women starting to criticize feminism without even realizing how deeply ingrained feminism is and how feminist they are. Actually.
Well, how
But-
that's going to look is they will criticize certain performative acts of feminism
Mhm.
without actually criticizing the core ideas of feminism that still benefit women, particularly in the church. Uh-oh, Nick. What's Nick looking for there? Uh-oh, he's got more books.
More Bible.
No, well, oh yeah, doesn't the Bible say something about hierarchies though, and how women are supposed to act? Yeah, Plutarch, you're talking about that on Wednesday, right?
Yes. Although I don't remember what the verse, what specific verse
It's
you're
Titus
trying.
2.
Titus
It's
2.
Titus
Yes.
chapter 2. Yeah. At
Well,
least I think it was 2. Yeah.
Is it because there was another one too that we were talking about, and I can't remember. It was
That was First
Thessalonians.
Timothy.
Oh, First Timothy. Okay. There's been a lot of Bible verses in my week this week. They're getting jumbled up.
Yeah, I misplaced my Bible. Friend did my Bible study last night. Misplaced it. Looking through an old 1560 Geneva Bible. There you go.
Wow.
There you go. So Titus 2. Oh, here. The elder, starting at verse 3, the elder woman likewise, that they be in such behavior as becometh holiness, not false accusers, not given to much wine, but teachers of honest things, that they may instruct the young women to be sober-minded, that they love their husbands, that they love their children, that they be discreet, chaste, keeping at home, good and subject unto their husbands, that the word of God be not evil spoken of.
Hey, Nick, do you remember a certain other thing that happened much earlier this year, kind of late, really late last year in the Christian community, the trad community, revolving around a woman of ill repute? I'm trying not to say.
Talking about
Go ahead.
the redheaded that
Yes.
now dyed her hair. Okay. Yeah.
So, because you were reading through this, and I'm thinking, women like that they can never be that woman. I'm sorry. If you have a past like Nala did, you can never be that woman again. However, you can be quiet, be submissive, be those things. So the best way, and this was a major fight in the Christian spaces, and we kind of in the red pill space, we kind of said, we got after the Christians for being too judgmental of her, I guess would be the right word. But do you remember that fight, how it kind of went down? It's like, and I was when I was there, I was trying to say, no, she needs to be quiet and go away for a while, because all she's doing is performing for the camera with a new skin suit, a Bible skin suit.
Oh, that's a good way to put it.
Nick, sorry, Steve, you're muted.
Okay. Pretty much everybody was wrong. You had the people of, oh, we welcome you back. Oh, thank you that you found Jesus and all that, and everything's forgiven. Yes, will you come up and speak for us? You give us your testimony. Now let your life be an inspiration. Oh, no, I won't buy that. And then the other people who said, you can't really trust it. Not sure about this, kind of performing judgment on her, which I'm more inclined to be on that side. But the proper stance was, well, yeah, only God can judge, but she needs to show her humility and remorse. And the proper way to do that is just go away, out of the public spotlight. The traditional way, when a woman made this kind of transformation, she might spend the rest of her life in a convent, in prayer, in restitution, certainly at least 2, 3, 5 years. No, you don't just get to hang up your shingle as new in Jesus Christ, and you don't know anything about anything in Christianity. So no, if you get up there and you start talking, all you're talking is emotions. It has little benefit, and probably is a negative.
I always said when we were talking about her that only time and her actions will show whether she is authentic about her transformation or not. I give you the benefit of doubt, but we have to see it in action, not just, oh, look at me, I'm such a transformed Christian girl now.
Well, I brought this up because this was a point of debate in the red pill community as well, and the reason I brought it up is because it's been 9 months now since that whole thing went down.
Yeah,
and I think with a little bit of time and distance, we can see now what that actually we men can pull our emotions out of it, because you know what, men around beautiful women, we can lose our rationale and logic too. And I think there were a lot of men, particularly in that sort of Christian wing of the manosphere, who were desperate in a way that I would say is probably not very masculine to push this woman to the front.
Yeah.
And say, no, she can be out there. She can be talking about this. Isn't this great? She's given herself over to Christ, and we have all of this. And this is one where I think that the men kind of got it wrong a little bit, as Steve is saying here. Is, Catholic or not, that idea of going away. What do women in a convent, nuns, do? It's a service position. It's a sacrificial service position, right? If I understand.
Well, it's contemplative. Yes, you do labor. You're not really serving anybody except God. You're praying.
Okay.
You're spending a life in solitude.
Mm.
You might have an outside thing you do in the convent to sell, lace doilies or something. But that's work.
Right.
But mostly it's about prayer and reflection, and you end up being supported by the church. But you live a life of modesty, poverty, discipline.
Steve, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
And Nick too. Do you fellows think that if that was what this woman had been told was going to be expected of her, she would have made the transition?
Oh, that's a good question.
No.
If the transition is so easy, we will see a lot more girls doing this, what she's doing. It's just, all I have to do is change my camouflage, change my mask. Today, feminism no longer serves me. I'll convert into a Christian for a little bit, but I'll still preserve my hoish mindset and all of the deeds and all of my accounts that were bringing me clout, money, and attention.
Well, I can't answer that, because in today's world, just make a superficial
right
change of heart,
exactly,
and everybody accepts it. Nobody ever went and talked to her. Okay, this is serious. You're going to be serious. This is your salvation at stake. This is how it was traditionally done. No, it's a whole life change. It's not just emotions. It's not just feelings. You actually have to atone for what you did. You have greatly offended God. You have abused the gift of your fertility and sexuality in such a way that you have to atone for that and make reparations to God. And yes, you will be healed, but are you willing to pay the price and go down this and actually do some prayer and thinking? And yeah, you'll come out it better, but if you want the cheap and easy route, just pray the salvation prayer once and you're done.
Yeah.
Get dunked,
Steve?
and okay, go on.
Steve,
Well,
excellent. I love this, because this gets to a point that I want to make about the Sisterhood Committee. When the Sisterhood Committee took over the church, they removed that exact requirement.
yeah, I mean, I'm not speaking from for the Catholic Church saying you must do this or you're going to hell. No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that if it's too easy,
Yeah.
it doesn't work for me personally. I've learned that. No, if you're going to make the commitment, you got to do that. You have to actually do some atonement. That's why I talk about this IPA, guilt, infidelity, promiscuity, abortion, guilt. Why do they still feel guilty? They've not done any atonement and reparations for the harm they did to themselves, to potentially the child that is not on this earth, and to God. They've not done any means of atonement, and the atonement is necessary first and foremost for our mental well-being.
Yeah.
If a person who pays no penalty for their wrongdoings will continue to feel guilty, you make them pay some amount. It doesn't have to be the full measure. but they got to do something. And now, okay, now the balance, the scales are balanced in their brain, in their life. And you know what? Jesus' blood or his salvation can work in our favor because he's going to help us pay that price. So that's why the scales don't have to be completely balanced on our understanding, because he's gonna contribute to that payment that is really your responsibility.
Well, I think the Bible actually says that we cannot, of our own human ability, pay the toll for our sins.
We can't.
Right. But nowhere in the Bible does it say that we don't have to do anything. That we just get to say a prayer and it's all over.
No, your temple, you're the temple of the Holy Spirit. You're a temple of God. You've been purchased with the price of the blood of the only begotten Son of God. And so therefore you are to be holy.
Which requires action on your part.
Right. Work out your faith. Was it work out your salvation? Yeah.
Well, the reason I brought all this up is because we're talking about the sisterhood.
Sanctification. But, yeah.
Well, we're talking about the Sisterhood Committee here, and I think we touched on this a little bit on Wednesday, but having had some time to think about it, one of the most destructive aspects of women in the church has been removing these consequences, so that the church no longer ever places these consequences on new entrants. I'm using the word consequences. It's kind of heavy-handed. You could call it a penalty. You can call it atonement. You can call it many different things. But my general point here is that the purpose of the sisterhood in the church was to castrate the church, was to make it so that women didn't have to perform, these, like, let's use Steve's convent as an example, that they didn't have to do these things, that all women had to do was say the right magical incantation. And I am going to use that term here, because they treat it like that. They just treat it as you say an incantation and your problems go away.
Mm-hmm.
There's a verse that the Protestants have great difficulty with and pretty much ignore, but addresses this. It is Colossians. What is it? Colossians 1:24. And I'm going to read it out of the Revised Standard Version. And this is St. Paul talking. Now I rejoice in my sufferings for your sake. And in my flesh I complete what is lacking in Christ's afflictions for the sake of his body, that is the church. So St. Paul is saying something was lacking on the cross. Something is lacking in Christ's afflictions. Oh, what was that? Simple. It's you uniting your sufferings with his on the cross. You have to do this little part and identify with him to make up what was lacking. What was lacking is infinitesimally small. But your sufferings do matter, and they make up for what was lacking on the cross. Is that heresy? Aren't we all supposed to take up our cross?
Yes, we are. There's nothing qualitatively lacking in Christ's suffering on the cross. It was fully sufficient for our sins. But it wasn't all the suffering ever to be experienced in the world.
Well, I would agree with you.
We suffer in Christ as we're united to Christ. So
but
like
in order to
like when he
claim,
goes to Paul, like when he goes to Paul, he says, Saul, Saul, why persecutest thou me? Paul wasn't persecuting Christ in person, but he was causing, in a sense, causing Christ to suffer through the members of the church.
So is what this verse is trying to say is that I'm trying to meld what Nick and Steve are saying, that Christ's suffering on the cross was sufficient for the sins, but it was not, he wasn't suffering all of the, like he didn't actually do all of the sins, right? Like our
He didn't commit them.
well,
yeah,
let
our
me
sins
say it
get hung up
differently.
there.
Did Christ die for all, or did he die for many?
Many.
Okay, so he didn't die for all. Why didn't he die for all? Because he didn't accept his gift, the gift of salvation. So he died for many. Who were the many he died with? The ones who were willing to suffer with Christ. So they're making up for what was lacking on the cross, which was really nothing except for you.
You weren't there.
You are not accepting the gift and the suffering that comes with identifying with Christ.
There you go.
So
Yep.
it's not Christ left something that for you to do, work for you to do.
Mm-hmm.
No, there's no work for you to do. It's you. But when you do that, of course, you're going to experience some suffering. So you don't get a free pass and just move from the sin into a wonderful land,
Steve,
without paying some price.
That's what the women don't want. They like the first half of what you said, when you said that God atoned for you completely, and every poor Nick, every feminist I've talked to loves that part of the Bible where some dude dies on a cross and takes care of all my sins. It's the idea that
in the relation.
Go ahead.
You see that in relationships.
Yes.
What does the woman bring to the table? Oh,
I am the
want
table.
man to do this, 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 this,
Mhm,
this. Has to be
mhm.
all this long list of criteria that she says, right? And what does she? Oh, I'm just me.
I'm the table. Right.
You see the same paradigm? Yeah.
It is. Which is, I'm not going to say ironic, but what is interesting is that, we describe, and we've done this, a lot of this on our channel, is this idea that, the relationship between God and the church is the same as between man and wife.
Well, guys, I have a question for you. I want to change it a little bit here, and related to the red pill. So when we say that women just are, it implies that you take the table the way it is. You don't expect.
No.
Well, but you say that women just are, men must become.
It's worse than that. It's worse than that, because it implies, when you say women just are, it implies that women have no sin.
Oh, that's a good
That they
one.
has no sin that they must do atonement for, because atonement's an action.
Uh-huh.
Hey, I just thought of something.
Uh-oh. Here
That's
comes
funny.
another idea. Go for it, Steve.
So at the Last Supper, Jesus presided. They were sitting at table. Imagine if someone asked Christ or Jesus, what do you bring to the table? What would he have said? I am the sacrifice.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know where that goes, but I'm just drawing a distinction where a woman says she's the table. Christ said he's the sacrifice.
The lamb, the sacrificial
lamb. Yes, he's the meal, he's the sacrifice, he's bringing his blood. So when she says, I'm the table, yes, he is the table upon which the man is supposed to place him as a sacrifice. I mean, if you maybe I'm taking this too far, but
Yeah, I think
I'm just working my way through it. It's kind of it's interesting. I don't know if it's true or not.
It's an interesting concept. You play around with. We'll have to play around with it some, but I'm because I'm looking at this going, the women come into the church and they want to take away the sacrifice requirements. And here's the thing I think that we need to be mindful of is that this is because men want to take away the sacrifice requirements of women. Men want women to be maybe not perfect, but complete. They want women to be sufficient men want women to be
pulling an atom.
Yeah.
Like in the garden.
Yeah.
So, the serpent goes and tempts the woman, and the man knows, I'm not supposed to have the forbidden fruit. But he simps for the woman. He doesn't rebuke her. He listens to her. He buys into her bullshit.
And I think this is why the church
loves her more than God.
Well, I think this is why the church allowed women to come in and remove consequences from women, not men. Because I mean, we've talked about this for months now, about how the church is more than happy to preach a fire and brimstone sermon to men, but they don't do it to women. And I think this is where this comes from. Is this idea that women are complete, that women need no salvation.
Well, women are perfect the way they are.
Don't you know they're a strong, independent woman? They don't need no man, except they're constantly trying to find them.
Right.
And then they need all the government subsidies and everything to prop them up. It's like a delusion.
See, the problem,
it is.
The problem I see in parts of the red pill where they say that women just are, they are accepting that women are perfect the way they are. They don't need to sacrifice. They don't need to improve. They don't need to do any work. They just are. And then the church does the same thing. This is why I kind of equated like red pill with church. It's like, how is red pill different from church in that regard? Because both of them are accepting women as these perfect goddesses.
No. That's why I didn't use the word perfect. It's why I used the word complete.
Okay.
Women are sufficient, and I mean complete for the man, not for a woman as she is sufficient. Let me rephrase that. Should be sufficient for the man as she is, and that plays into Steve's IPA. She doesn't need to tell all her sins because she is sufficient. In the case of somebody like Patriot Barbie, she's sufficient for having done the performative acts of publicly announcing her prior whoredom. Okay, but that is sufficient because she's a woman.
Yeah, no. So people don't get the wrong idea. Are infidelity, promiscuity, past infidelity, promiscuity, and abortion sufficient reason to not marrying a woman? Yeah, potentially. Let's say you're getting remarried. Okay, now this is not strictly a Catholic stance. She was unfaithful to her previous husband. Should you marry her? She was promiscuous in her 20s. Should you marry her? She had an abortion. Should you marry her? Or is she disqualified? Well, those are not good signs. But actual answer is if she has truly repented and atoned and made reparations and is not hiding those things from you, they're probably not disqualifiers. But if she is hiding it, which then you're not going to know, theoretically, that she's done these things, then it is a disqualifier.
Steve, let me add a disqualifier. If she's turned her past sins into a performance for public performance, that's a disqualifier.
Sure. So, I mean, am I unforgiving? Do I want to find another woman to spend my life with? Yes. Do I expect her to have a clean bill of health? No abortions? No past promiscuity or sexual indiscretions? Nah, I don't think that's possible. So, okay, maybe this is a cope. If it is, you can call me out on it. She needs to disclose, and yeah, she needs to disclose it to me. Otherwise, I won't know about it, and I can't make a judgment. But the reason I need to make the judgment is, did she actually do the work to atone for it? Is she really over it, or is she just masking over her past behavior so nobody knows, so she can eat, wipe her mouth, and declare, I've done nothing evil?
I'm perfect the way I am. This is why I use the word perfect, because in her mind, when there are no standards placed on her, when there are no consequences, she starts believing that she's perfect. Because in her mind, like, okay, if people don't pay attention to this sin or that sin, then I haven't committed any sins. I'm perfect.
Well, I don't think, like, if you were to talk to somebody like Patriot Barbie or even Null, I don't think they would say they were perfect. I think the best that they would say is, I'm made perfect in Jesus, which, okay.
Okay. Why aren't they doing the Titus 2 things?
Oh. But and that's exactly it, is when you sit down and parse out their behavior. Now, Patriot Barbie got run through the ringer by Andrew, who actually does know some of this stuff, and did actually call her out on a bunch of it. But they don't sit down and have these conversations with men very often. Women don't. They certainly are not getting these conversations at the church anymore. Certainly not.
No. Well, yeah, and the ones that do, they generally get the pastors that actually do make these conversations or sermons. You're looking at them.
They're not pastors anymore.
Right.
But I actually think we've touched on a very important idea. No, women want. I'm going to take the red pill phrase "women just are," and I'm going to modify it. Want to just be. They want to be an R, but they aren't. And so much of the red pill is about trying to mitigate the blast damage of when they aren't. And when they weren't, going back to Steve's IPA. And it's past IPA. I want to make that clear. And so much of the red pill is about, how do we work around the fact that women actually aren't sufficient? So women, okay, I'm going to say this, and honestly, I kind of hope this ruffles some feathers in the red pill side of the community.
That's what we do.
Yeah.
Women are not. Women must also become.
But you can't make them do it.
Absolutely. You can't make them do it. But women must also.
They have agency.
Yes, they have agency. Women must become wives.
Yes.
Women are not
so
just
this goes
wives.
back to the thing I saw. This lady, this book I reviewed that threw me under the bus, sent her white knights after me, and I was in the Orthodox Presbyterian Church. Put me on blast on Twitter years ago.
Was this Bird?
Oh, yeah. So she
Okay.
had this book. It was Recovering from biblical manhood and womanhood. So she's now like full-blown egalitarian, but she was trying to distance herself from complementarianism anyways. And she had all the, I've said this before, like she'll talk about all the things that men need to do, right? How dare you tell a woman what to do and what a woman is and ought to be? I am a woman.
I mean,
Right.
What's the church?
mm,
Women.
That is their mentality.
I'm going to say it this way. Women are whores. They must become wives.
wives. Yes, I love this one.
Every woman can be a whore with no
Yes.
effort. Not all women
Yes.
can be wives.
But once she becomes a wife, remind her that she's still your whore
Oh yeah.
for you privately.
She's
Well, this
and
is
she-
why
If
You have to
she,
remind her that
if
she
she
still knows
puts
how to do
on
it.
her purity cloak and
Oh,
says,
yeah.
I'm not like that anymore, yeah, she's just repressing it.
this is
And
why
you're gonna
Donovan had a
get-
good video.
you're gonna
the other
get
day
roasted.
about that.
this is
So
why I keep
Donovan had a good
saying.
video about that. About, hey, we've been finally getting it for 8 years, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
It's like, how about we go downtown? And she's like, I'm not that kind of person anymore, or I'm not that type of whatever. And then she calls, Tyrone or whatever. On the phone. And she's
was
like,
a funny
I'm going
video.
through that back door.
Now, that is something that where men can intervene and how male behavior that is something that male behavior can influence. Is she your whore or not? But women are whores. All women are whores. All women are
this is what I was
capable of
trying to
being
say.
whores. Okay. Not all women are wives. You must become a wife. And a wife can still remember how to be a whore. This is not hard. It's basic female nature. Okay. All you women out there, you know how to do it. And the
Mm.
church's biggest lie, the church's biggest feminist lie to you is that not being a whore for your husband is somehow purity.
Yes,
I'm
but the
not
man-
your
No,
sex
purity
object. How
is-
dare you look
okay.
at me like that?
Purity is not being a public whore. Don't post yourself semi-naked on social
Uh-huh.
media. Don't fuck around. Commit
Yep.
to one guy, be his whore. Be a wife.
Right. But now the man has a role here too.
Yep.
First, he has to give her the space to express herself that way. Then he has to tell her, yes, I expect this from you. And I don't judge you for behavior in our bedroom. In fact, I will judge you for repressive, prudish behavior. I will judge you harshly if you're a prude, because that's not. So, I don't know that you have to come out and say it, but you have to give the space for her to perform that way for your pleasure.
I think with a lot of
Because
Christians,
it's
you will
also
have to
for
say it.
her.
I think with a lot of Christians, you will have to say it explicitly. The expectation. I don't think in this modern day with purity being such a prudish thing in Christianity, I don't think we can say, oh yeah, no, just let them do it. They'll figure it out.
Well, I agree. You need to have that discussion. And it's not a short discussion.
No.
It's a delicate discussion. It has to be very frank. It doesn't have to be brutal. You got to go into these issues. You have to explain it. Give her a lot of comfort to let her express herself.
And
then draw her into that. And you're going to have to lead. Don't just stand back and say, oh, no, she's going to do it. And I'm going to get what I want. No, you're going to have to lead her. Tell her, okay, I'm going to lead you hopefully further than you want to go, because that gives you the freedom to be wherever you want to stop, Well,
and the other thing I would say to guys
that-
is just a specific piece of advice here. Don't necessarily expect that you're going to go have monkey sex the 5 minutes after having this conversation. Women don't process information like that. Women need time to sort out how they feel about this stuff. They're going to have to process it on their own. So don't just expect you're going to jump to the monkey sex.
And she's going to test you by going a little bit further. Then you need to praise her.
Yep.
Good girl. Man.
Wow.
Last night.
This is
Man,
okay,
I
guys.
didn't know you had that in you. But wow. I'm going to be thinking about that all day. It just, okay, something like that, a little bit of gushing. Now she's going to be thinking about that all day too.
This is why, guys, I'm reminding you of today's show. It's going to be Marry Me Red Pill podcast that will start today. And each day you will get a new episode on my channel. And this is why I was asking men to participate in the show and say, like, what would you actually appreciate in a woman? Because when you just criticize, oh, women are this, women are the, and I see it so much in the red pill sphere, and like there are places where women.
The criticism comes from the fact that we tell ourselves that women just are, but women aren't, and so we have to criticize them to try and get them to what we want them to be.
Yeah, but nobody really says like what you want in a woman. Like what kind of qualities would you prefer in a woman?
It's a bit of a self-conceit, and it's something that the community needs to reflect on how it is talking to itself about itself.
When you want somebody to improve and you give somebody constructive feedback, you can say, okay, you suck here, you really are bad here, and we've seen it happen, right? There's so many 3 or 4 out there. Okay, fine, whatever, you won't find a virgin. Yes, women are promiscuous, women are narcissistic, whatever, but like, how can they improve so that they can work on themselves, so that they can become, maybe, some of them might, if they go through repentance, if they go through atonement, I give them a benefit of doubt, right? There might be a few decent women out there. But when there is no better alternative for them, it's just like criticism, like they become very defensive.
It seems to me that Elena's talking about advising us to train a woman the way you would train a dog. You got to give it lots of praise, pats on the head. Good boy, good girl. Oh, great.
Hey, Steve.
Can you do this? Oh, wow, here's a treat.
Hey, Steve.
Positive and negative reinforcement, guys, from psychology. You praise good behavior and you criticize the bad behavior.
Steve, I know you've heard this in our conversations after the show, and I think I might have done this once or twice live, but have you ever heard me say to Elena, leave it?
I have, yeah.
That is actually language that I learned when we were training an old golden retriever Aussie Shepherd mix when I was a teenager.
Thank you, Darwin.
So,
but I get
it sounds silly, but if it brings peace
to
your life, it's great.
I probably will now. But here's the thing: we use it on her dog. We use it on her dog, Indio, and she immediately recognizes what I'm trying to do.
He uses it on me too, and I actually, I understand it.
She
it
understands
does
and
work.
recognizes it.
I recognize it. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm out.
I don't do it very often, but when she gets particularly in her emotions and bouncing off the walls, I know.
Well, we've talked about that. It's that shock.
Yep.
Get out of it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's a short shock statement to shock her out of it. Not meant to be mean or brutal or even harsh to her. It's just you got to break out of this emotional swirl because you're going down the drain.
Right.
And you can usually tell when Elena does that. So we have a group text message for all 4 of us. And it's usually when Elena comes out like these 2 real long messages.
Yeah, and when I see that, I know it's time to have an offline conversation over lunch with her, and we do. But gentlemen watching, understand that what you're watching is actually the training of a woman in real time. Elena is not an R. She is a work in progress. Okay? I think, yeah, see, she doesn't like hearing that, but she'll admit it. Okay, women are whores. They are not just wives. Okay? And so women must also be brought up and trained. They are not sufficient on their own.
So can I bring this back to our committee?
Sure.
So the committee of women. A man is going to find a woman, and she's on that committee, and he marries her. She's still going to be on that committee in some manner. And okay, you're going to have to deal with it at least one step away, because she's always going to be getting this feedback from the committee. Even if she doesn't want to be part of the committee now, she might in the future. It's always a factor in your life. You cannot affect the committee at all, and it's not your job. All you can do is deal with the one woman who you have chosen and who is committed to you. She doesn't come ready-made. She has to be trained and created into the woman that you want her to be and that you see that she can be. No, there are no ready-made women. There are no ready-made men. Man's job is to try and help her become that woman. But unfortunately, it doesn't quite work the same way. A woman cannot help a man become who he needs to be. He needs to find that on his own or through his friends or someone in authority over him. Don't let your woman try and make you into the man she wants you to be. Bad idea. But it is your job to make her into the woman that you think she should be. Remember, she has free will. She has agency. She can leave if she doesn't like that.
I also want to add something to what Steve said. She's always going to be somewhere on the committee. Find out who the people on the committee are, her friends, because birds of a feather flock together. If she has some real shitty friends, chances are she's a shitty person.
Well, the red pill talks about this. You're not just getting one woman. You're getting a woman and all her friends, and you need to know who her friends are. And I think it's interesting that we find that most successful relationships, the woman has very few female friends. And to another thing, Steve, you were talking about, women can't make men. We see this in the crime statistics for the children of single mothers, or the sons of single mothers.
Yep.
And so God Sod did a video. It was an interview, and he was talking about this, and he said more than anything else, the number one factor, by like 100 times more than any other factor as a predictor in whether or not a child is going to commit a crime, is whether it's not whether or not it's a single mom, although that's up there. It's whether or not there is a man in the house who is not the biological father.
Ooh. Well, this is why pushing the motherhood, making it great again, it doesn't solve a problem.
Can't solve it, because the problem that you have to solve, if you want to solve the world's problem, is not motherhood. The problem you have to solve is the removal of children from their biological fathers.
Yes.
And Nick, I'm sure, has a long whole diatribe about that he could get into. We are already 2 hours in, so
Yeah. Well, we can leave it for later.
Numbers don't lie, guys. The
Right.
numbers don't lie.
the math
They don't care
is
about
what
your
it is.
feelings.
Right.
Right.
I'm a big advocate for custody for fathers.
Well, but this is why. Because a woman, and I actually in my family have seen this done. A woman can come in and mother another guy's children. You can see it in the animal kingdom. You can see it in the human biology. Women can do it. It's not a problem. Men can't.
Hey, and I'm the guy who can actually talk about that.
Right.
I married a single mother. I raised her two daughters. What was the risk there? Well, okay, you could say they were at a higher SA abuse risk from me. Okay. Doesn't mean it happened. It still means it's a low probability. Yes, I was accused of talking about that. But the point is that she would not let me have the authority that I needed to have a, structure and discipline, not punishment, just discipline. And now you have a 21-year-old without even a GED because she dropped out of school, had problems with it. No driver's license, never had a job. You know what the friction was? You gonna get your driver's license? Are you gonna study for the driver's license? Are you gonna think about getting a part-time job, 10, 20 hours a week? Gee, how's it coming on that GED? Oh, guess what? I was creating conflict.
This is why promoting just motherhood doesn't create more useful members of society.
No, statistically, what will actually happen if we just promote motherhood is there will be an explosion in single mothers, and then there will be an explosion of criminal activity 20 years later.
Yeah.
That the math on this is undeniable. It is there's no question here in my mind. We don't need to have this conversation. We need to promote father custody of children.
Yes.
If a woman wants to leave, she must give up her children.
Well, this would actually motivate women to stay with the family, to stay with the men, because right now what women are doing by giving them the custody of kids, they're using kids as meal ticket to get more resources from men. They're using them as puppets, as toys, and then they promote their accounts on social media. I'm not even going there, but we've talked about it, like to get more likes.
That's a symptom of the problem, and that is one of the causes of why the children so poorly, so badly misbehave, is because they're not actually getting a proper upbringing. Their mom is just using them as a meal ticket and then barely pays any attention to them, because that's how women operate.
Well, they offload kids on the school system because now they have to hustle. They leave a guy who was providing, right, for the family. Now they have to hustle. Now they have to go to job. So who is taking care of the kids? The public school.
These are all symptoms of her desire to be rebellious and leave.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I'm going to go mute because I have a whole bunch more that I'm going to say, but this stream should be coming to its end.
Yes,
I'm gonna go have a smoke and let you guys finish this up.
No,
we are just summarizing it. Yeah, thank you guys so much for being with us today. Thank you, the Resurgence team. I love you guys. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. And yeah, we can dive in deeper into certain topics. Guys, remember to leave us a comment in the comment section. What do you think about the topics? What do you think about the custody for dads? I'm curious. Do you support that idea? And yeah, follow the Resurgence of Sanity, guys. I'm going to share the schedule of our activities here. So they have 2 different live streams on Mondays and Wednesdays at 5:45 p.m. Pacific, at 7:45 p.m. Central, and at 8:45 p.m. Eastern. Join them. They talk about very interesting topics, and then they dive in really deep into these topics. And then on my channel, you can join me for regular workouts from Monday to Friday. And then on Saturdays, we have these deep dive conversations. Cool. And we are pretty much done here. Okay. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Remember to please like, share, and subscribe. And we'll see you next time. Take care, everyone. Bye. So I just ended, right, Darwin?
Yep, just it end.
Okay.
Elena's Barre, the best place on the internet, the very best by far.